The room was electric, filled with reporters, flashing cameras, and the hushed tension of an audience waiting for a spark. The stage was set for a fiery debate, and sitting across from each other were two figures who could not be more different: Senator Elizabeth Warren, sharp-tongued and well-versed in academic rhetoric, and Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, known not for flowery speeches but for a brand of wit and wisdom that came from the dirt roads, small towns, and everyday people of America. The crowd leaned in, sensing a showdown was inevitable. It didn't take long for the clash to ignite. Warren, never one to back down, tilted her chin and let her words slice through the air like a blade. "Senator Kennedy," she began, her tone laced with the smirk, "your arguments may sound clever to folks who don't know better, but let's be honest, you often confuse folksy sayings with real intelligence." A ripple of laughter echoed across the audience. Even a few of the moderators shifted uncomfortably, unsure how Kennedy would respond. For a brief moment, Kennedy sat silently, his hands folded, eyes steady. To some, it looked like hesitation, but those who knew him best recognized that look. It was the calm before the storm. Then, with the faintest grin, he leaned into the microphone. "Now, Senator," Kennedy said, his voice rich with the southern cadence of a man who'd spent his life around kitchen tables, church pews, and courthouse benches, "I may not talk like a Harvard professor, but let me tell you something my mama always said: you can sprinkle perfume on a skunk, but it'll still stink. And right now, what stinks is not my intelligentsia, it's the way Washington keeps forgetting the people who sent us here." The room erupted not with laughter at him, but with applause for him. Warren's smirk faltered as the cameras swung toward Kennedy. He didn't stop there, he went on, weaving story after story, and not from textbooks, but from real lives. He spoke about a farmer in Ruston who lost his crop after a storm but never lost his dignity. He told of a single mother in Baton Rouge working 2 jobs, who said all she wanted was not handouts, but a fair chance for her kids to climb higher than she could. His words weren't polished, but they were raw, real, and unforgettable. Warren tried to interject, throwing out statistics and data points, but Kennedy countered with something she couldn't touch: a lived experience. "Senator," he said at one point, "you've got numbers, and I respect that, but behind every number is a face, a family, and a story. If you don't see that, then you're just reading ink on paper." "I see people, I see lives." The audience grew quiet, hanging on his every word. The sharp divide between intellectual sharpness and street wisdom had never been so stark. By the end, even those who disagreed with Kennedy's politics couldn't deny the power of what they had witnessed. He hadn't just defended himself, he had shifted the entire tone of the debate. What began as a mocking jab at his intelligence had turned into a lesson in humility for everyone listening. As the lights dimmed and the debate wrapped, people were still buzzing. Clips of the exchange began spreading across social media like wildfire. Comment sections overflowed with messages like, "He kept it real. That's the kind of plain talk we need. And you can't buy that kind of wisdom up, it's lived." Later, a reporter asked Kennedy if he had prepared for Warren's jab. He chuckled, shook his head, and said, "Ma'am, I didn't come here to impress professors. I came here to speak for the folks who don't get microphones handed to them every day. If that makes me sound simple, then I'll wear that badge proudly. Cause simple doesn't mean stupid. Simple means clear, and I'd rather be clear than clever." That single statement was replayed on television screens across the nation. Parents repeated it at dinner tables, workers shared it on lunch breaks, and young people posted it with captions like "Truth." Kennedy's words had cut through the noise of politics and reached the heart of something much deeper: the timeless reminder that real wisdom doesn't always come wrapped in polished sentences or degrees, but in the scars, struggles, and stories of ordinary life. Elizabeth Warren, for all her intelligence, had underestimated her opponent. In trying to mock his simplicity, she had accidentally highlighted the very thing that made him so powerful: his ability to speak a language everyone understood. And that night, as the headlines rolled in, one thing became clear: John Kennedy didn't just survive the attack, He turned it into a victory. He destroyed not with arrogance, but with humility, not with insults, but with truth. And in doing so, he reminded America of a lesson it often forgets and never confuses simplicity with weakness. Sometimes, the plainest words carry the heaviest weight. The message lingered long after the cameras stopped rolling. In a world of noise and pretense, wisdom from the street can still silence the most educated voices in the room.